Lidodu came and said he wasn't going to be available to sing. Now George Dakon had to go there and perform. He didn't know how to go about it. But people said they were prepared to listen to George Dakon and not Lidodu. So he went there for the first time, sang. The people were happy.
And delivered.
And then he came out with his album, Money Palava.
I like Money Palava.
Yeah.
Sometimes wake up in the morning.
That song is so fitting to our current situation.
Okay, so
We have to look for Money Palava.
Yeah.
Money Palava. Money Palava, because it fits our situation.
Yeah. So money palava.
so we put up a post on Twitter, right?
So Victor has just put on the screen as a notice for me. He says, I have loaded Nat Bruce English version of Obecheke.
That's supposed to be what the jacket.
Victor, which song is Obecheke?
Goodness.
Obecheke then. Anyway, listen.
So we're gonna listen to it.
Obecheke.
No, we don't even know what that is.
No, thank you. Anyway, we've been asking you, would you be willing to do something for your country? You know, we're talking about patriotism. It's Ghana month, and actually we'll be running a series on patriotism. It's important to let you understand it's a series we'll be running, because today when we ask critical questions about patriotism, you might be under the impression that Ghanaians are not for patriotism. But by the end of this series, I think we would want to have evolved our thinking on it. But today we are starting off by asking a simple question. As a Ghanaian, would you be willing to do something for your nation? The tweets have started coming in, right?
Yeah, and I'll start with Ajetofio. At Ajetofio, right? I'm prepared to leave Ghana so that the burden on the national cake reduces. At Al Magbra says, Ghana ain't doing nothing for me. I really don't care. What I'm willing to do is leave Ghana. At Ed_Wine says, I'm willing to protect the national cake with all my strength and my heart. At Obimpina Austin says, go to America and change my Twitter profile picture to Ghana flag and colors during Sith March. That's what he's willing to do. Go to America and then change his Twitter profile picture to Ghana flag. This is Tim says, what is the country called Ghana offering me, with the hashtag JoySMS and the hashtag Ghana Month on Joy. At Samp_Doc says, aren't citizens already doing so much for this country by staying here? At Magboom100 says, I love Ghana. I'll give my life and service to this beautiful country. Long live Nkrumah for his great inspiration to all Pan-Africanists. At Akosia says, I'll do nothing, and nothing is in capital letters. I will do nothing for Ghana because monkey no dey work for baboon dey chop. Sa patriotism ejumano. Ye jai da da da. Oh, Akosia. Grace Amma says, I'm willing to migrate to Finland or Canada. I wonder why. Yaonyako says, I won't even lift a finger if that's what will make Ghana like America, because Ghana in this state is someone's gold mine. Ramson David says, what is Ghana willing to do for me? Tahiru Seidu says, they should use my share of the gold, timber, bauxite, manganese, cocoa, oil, etc. to invest, and proceeds from it should be used to pay civil servants and develop the country. Kojo_C says, as a patriotic citizen, I'm willing to leave the country. This will lead to 1, increase in the number of job opportunities, hence decreasing the rate of unemployment in the country. 2, resources which I consume would then be channeled in the development of the country.
Wow. If he was occupying church seats,
It will be available for other people to occupy. Yeah.
Are we getting the whole thing about patriotism wrong?
Actually, you see, it's interesting. Every person who has responded understands what patriotism is.
Yeah.
They're just not so willing to do it.
Yeah.
Unless it will somehow free them from the burden of being Ghanaian.
If I'm presuming, the population, a chunk of it is pretty youthful, so 15-24 grouping. I'm worried about how that particular group, because that age grouping was when I was more willing to die for this thing. Yeah, actually, I think that was my idealist period, 100%. True and true, red, gold, green. but I get the impression the signals they are giving me, they are very problematic ones. Almost more than half of them feel that, Charlie, this country is not my country. I need to find somewhere else to be. Or some people, in fact, and there's that undertone. They are just willing to leave. So who should fix the mess so that we come back to it?
But that's a good question. Who should fix it?
Yeah.
Who should fix the mess?
It's-
What's your answer?
The people of this republic, is our collective responsibility to fix our mess when we create it.
You don't get the same reaction though when you talk about club football, for instance. When you talk
Yeah.
about Kotoko, when you talk about Hearts of Oak. If you were to ask a similar question right now, what are you willing to do for your club, Hearts of Oak or Kotoko? You won't find people giving conditional answers.
Even though this class may also break your heart consistently.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
It's the same thing if you were to ask, what are you willing to do for your church?
Okay, yeah.
Ghanaians will be quite enthusiastic with their responses. But for their country, they don't feel the same. So the question is why?
I think
What
the
is
country
it?
is far removed from people.
Well, we were talking about this, Winston and I, with George. And I was making the point that, you see, we have the idea of your country is a bit it's obscured by the idea of political party. So parties come into government and they treat it like it's their property. They treat the nation and its resources like it's their property. They give out positions to their friends. They give out contracts to their people. They utilize the state's resources as if it's their own. So people can't identify Ghana because the government or the party is blocking their view.
Yeah.
So it's hard for them to decide, okay, I'm going to do something for my country. When you can't see your country, all you see is the party in power who will leave at some point. So what's the point of being loyal to something that is transient?
You see, I get this argument, but if you were to use same, for instance, for the club, I mean, we don't care who is running the club, really. We don't
Because
care
it's
about
still-
the club's
because
finances.
it's still the same club, and the person who's running the club, the person who is the coach, will never pretend it's their property. The person who's a striker
That's
will
true.
never pretend it's his property.
Is it because we are unable to separate state from government?
It's part
That's
of
it. That's the challenge. That's the challenge. Well, we'll get back and talk about all of these things. But listening to you read all those messages,
It's disheartening at the core
very,
of it, Charlie.
very disheartening. Well, we talked about the song "Money Palava" by George Dako.
Coffee in your cup and Joy on the set. The Super Morning Show is always the best bet on Joy 99.7 FM. Joy 99.7 FM.
Man, they suffer every day, every night. Sometimes wake up in the morning, your soul is willing, but the body's weak. Oh, sometimes wake up in the morning, your soul is willing, but the body's weak. Oh, one time to the top, two time to the bottom.
Joy 99.7 FM.
Money. I say money palava. Money palava. I say money palava. Money palava. I say money palava. Money palava. So money problem. Money palava. Every day.
Bugger High Life.
Oh goodness.
That's Bugger
Ghana
High
DB.
Life.
Ghana DB. All right, we're continuing to ask that question. Are you willing to do something for your country? We'll be discussing patriotism as a concept and what it means to Ghanaians. in a short while when we engage our guests. But first, Kingdom Books and Stationery Limited wants you to know you can still buy everything you could possibly want from them online when you go to kingdomstoreonline.com. You can pay via Momo for everything you buy, and of course, they will deliver free of charge if you are in Accra or Tema. Terms and conditions do apply. At Kingdom, quality and affordability is their home.
And we know that life is go, 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 and that is hard to make time for the things that really count. So we won't let banking get in your way. That's why with Access Digital Channels, you can bank when, where, and how you want, so you can focus on what or who is important to you. Banking has never been easier. Transfer funds into your savings account, pay your old school union dues and your DSTV subscription, and many more with a click on your phone. Get things done simply with Access Digital Channels. That's Africanacity. That's APSA. Terms and conditions apply. Visit apsa.com.gh for further details.
Well, Allianz Ghana Life and Non-Life Insurance Head Office has moved. We can now be located at Volta Place 35, Patrice Lumumba Road, Airport Residential Area, 600 meters from the National Service Secretariat. So for further inquiries and assistance, contact us on 0302 674 891 or 0308 249 090 or 0501 601 810, or visit our website allianz-gh.com. Allianz, we secure your future.
All right, it's the Super Morning Show, and when we come back, we're going to find out what patriotism means to Ghanaians and what became of it in recent times.
Joy 99.7 FM.
Ghana month, and our theme throughout the month is patriotism. But first, we need to figure out what happened to it, because it seems a bit hard to find among Ghanaians these days. To help us understand this, we're so honored to have joining us via Zoom Professor Bafo Ajimandia. Professor Ajimandia is the CEO of the J.A. Kufuor Foundation. No doubt he knows a thing or two about patriotism, having served in so many different capacities of national character. Professor Ajimandia, good morning to you. It's wonderful to see you via Zoom today. Prof, I think you might have to unmute your microphone so we can hear you.
Yes,
there we go.
I think I'm on now. I heard you, and I was saying thank you for having me. It's always a pleasure, Kojo, to be with you.
The pleasure is ours, Prof. So, well, I mean, I don't know if you were listening when we read some of the messages and tweets that we received from listeners. We asked them whether they would be willing to do something for their country, which is the fundament of patriotism. They are not as keen. Is this a familiar feeling to you, being of a different generation, or does it seem quite a drastic turnaround from what the average Ghanaian used to feel?
Well, unfortunately, I did not listen to those messages, but from what you have just said, I'm not surprised for what is going on now. You know, the song you just played, I guess those of us belonging to the older generation, you feel certain sentiments as you listen to these songs. In the 60s and 70s, especially, when there were more of these patriotic songs on Radio Ghana and later on GTV, whenever you heard these things, you felt certain emotions, and the emotions were towards loving your country. But as you played this opening song, what I just heard before we started speaking, I'm not sure how many of our younger people will feel. I don't know whether this song really stimulated them. I'm not sure. So, coming back to your point then, I'm not surprised at all that these days, people don't seem to have any feeling for their country. Of course, every Ghanaian is proud of being a Ghanaian, but I'm not too confident about the extent of the emotional attachment to the country. Because if it were, so many things in our behavior and attitudes will not be what we see around us today.
Let me ask the chicken or egg question. I mean, where did this decline begin? Did it begin with the people? Or, I mean, who let whom down? Did the nation let the people down, or did the people let the nation down?
Kojo, you see, patriotism comes from two sources. One that I think is internally generated. That is to say, the fact that you're born Ghanaian gives you certain internal sentiments to like or love your country. And the other side is externally generated, which is how you see your country, its leadership, the kinds of policies, actions, and things that you do that also help you to consolidate that internal sentiment. So you see, even those who were interviewed, who didn't seem to show much love for their country, when it comes to being a Ghanaian, I can tell you, they will swear they are Ghanaians, they love their country, because that is internally generated. But when they see in the environment, the general environment, how government acts, the kinds of words and deeds of government, policies and all, and they are not inspired by these kinds of external stimulants, then of course, their love for their country will drastically reduce. And it seems to me, if you ask me when did it begin, I cannot tell precisely when these sentiments began, especially concerning the external stimulation of patriotism. Because you see, I can tell you, those of us who belong to the young pioneers of Kwame Nkrumah, as young as I was, certain songs, certain rituals that we did every morning in school before going to school, all of them helped to build that kind of sentiments in us. Of course, as I grew up, I knew that certain things that were taught were not the proper things, you know. But nonetheless, there was a conscious attempt to build in the Ghanaian a sense of patriotism, a sense of loving your country, and therefore being prepared to die for your country. But as we came along, and with all the failures of past governments, and then after all these so many coups d'etats and all the kinds of things we experienced, all the way to the bigger revolution, so to speak, that Rawlings brought. Looking back, it seems like we lost something on the way. We lost something on the way. And the shift from morality to what I would call monetization of everything has also contributed to that. Because look, previously, I cherished the fact that if I were into politics, or those who go into politics, they were going to service their nation. That was the original thinking. But as I speak to you today, personally, if you ask me, I will tell you, 99.9% of Ghanaians who get into politics go for their personal interest. That's the way I see it. Otherwise, why would they monetize everything? Look, in the late 90s, early 2000s, I first worked with I started my civil society work with IEA. And we started these parliamentary workshops, capacity building, you name them. we were taking parliamentarians, including the current Honorable Speaker of the House. Took them to Akosombo, took them to Elmina. And what was surprising to me, because at that point I've been back to the country only a few years, and for me, being in the States for so many years and getting to know how Americans cherish their country and what they do in support of the country. Here we were, you asked parliamentarians to come for a workshop to build their own capacity. They insisted that you pay them beside their transportation before they will come and attend a program that will benefit them, you see? And this now has grown up to today. So you ask yourself, are these people there to truly serve their country or not? So I think since that period, we have seen a progressive development in our attachment for profit in anything that we seek to do. And I think, unfortunately, in so doing, we have put the country aside. So anybody who has the opportunity to serve a country, his first inclination, how much do I get from the state? So all of us have been feeding on the state to today, when we are all scrambling for something to hold on to in terms of our national exchequer and everything that seems to have been dissipated. So it's a very dangerous time, because any nation where you don't have your people with that kind of sentiment, you're in trouble.
I found a definition, I think it's the Oxford Dictionary's definition of patriotism. They say it is the quality of being patriotic, devotion to and vigorous support for one's country.
Correct.
Now, it's obvious that Ghanaians have the capacity to be devoted and to vigorously support. They do so for their football clubs, for their churches, for their political parties. So my question is, if we are able to be so vigorously supportive and devoted to our political parties, Prof, why are we unable to extend that link to a devotion and vigorous support of our country?
Excellent question. And you said it right. You see, when it comes to soccer, football, and the Black Star is playing any country, you find Ghanaians in their thousands, if not millions, all cheering for the Black Stars. That's one aspect of patriotism. You show it, Ghanaians display it. But as I said earlier, when it comes to politics, which is crucial in building up these emotions and sentiments about your country, we get disappointed. Because over the years, and it's not just Kufuor's government, it's over the years, we have seen governments doing all kinds of things that will kill your spirit to love your country. And somebody said recently, like if your own classmate, you finish Legon or wherever the same year, and this person decided to go into politics, and you decide to go into teaching, and 4 years later, your classmate is around, he's built a mansion already, he has a 4-wheel drive V8, either given by the state or his own effort, and on and on and on. And when you look at this, the first question is, oh, did this guy go in there to serve the country, as they said, as they claim? Certainly not. Because if you look at our economy and the salaries and all structures and all, it's not possible for anybody to do that. So that then leads to the perception of corruption, that people are simply feeding on the state, you see. So it becomes difficult. And as I said, besides the internally generated patriotic sentiment that all of us have because we are Ghanaians, it helps when leadership of a country demonstrates. Look, let me give you an example. I know a lot of people have problems about coups, including myself, but at times it's interesting to cite examples from coup makers who were in the country. Think about a champion and his era. As bad as most of us think he was, look at the council initiated. If you think of Operation Feed Yourself, and he was able to get Ghanaians without any compulsion to just start gardening, farming, even in Accra, in their backyards, to a point where food was in abundance, to a point where farmers were able to produce rice for the first time in the country not only to be self-sufficient, but to export rice to our neighboring countries. Please feed yourself. Look at another policy, self-reliance, which was the core policy that he had, self-reliance. In fact, that's why when our president, Nana Akufo-Addo, mentioned or talked about Ghana Beyond Aid some years back, I was excited because for me, it reminded me of the self-reliance policies that the champion brought about. So if the leader is able to captivate the people around such policies, everybody will be excited. And then it deepens the love that you have for your country, you see. So I think over the years, we haven't really gotten real policies that inspire us to sacrifice, to do something on our own for our country. This thing, not one factory, but the farming, the agricultural policy of this country. It was a very powerful for me, intellectually and practically. It was very powerful for me, planting for food and jobs. But I don't think the policy has been pursued in such a way that Ghanaians will readily accept and do what the policy directs. It's all been money. So we don't often get appeals to our emotions and sentiments in terms of loving our country. Every often we are directed to where we can get, profit. And patriotism has nothing to do with profit. The original meaning of patriotism, as you know, patriot, somebody who's prepared to take a gun and defend his country to the point of dying. Today, if you look at what's going on in Ukraine, Zelensky, it's been very impressive. This young man, 44-year-old, the way the man is directing, inspiring his people. Now, ordinary people, women, boys, they are all taking guns to defend their country. That's what patriotism in its true sense means. So besides the war front, there are other things that you do to protect your country. If you see that something is really inimical to the health of your country, and you say, I'm walking on the street, I see a plastic bag, and no, this is bad. I have a story. When I went to the US many decades back, and my host family, we were traveling, then he pointed to a basket in the car to say, look, if you, after unwrapping candy or cookie or whatever, make sure you put it here. Then she added, Barbara, airbag is the name. So we keep our country clean. And on the highway, there are signs. No littering. If you litter, $500 fine. So you pass everywhere. It's clean. And people comply. And people are proud to say, we have a clean environment. Why is it that Ghanaians don't? So it's both attitudinal and also lack of inspiration from leadership.
Prof, in fact, if you just joined us, we are having a very interesting conversation with Professor Bafo Agyeman-Duah. He is the CEO of the J. Kufuor Foundation. We're talking about patriotism. And Prof, you mentioned Ukraine, so it made me think about this. Recently, just before the conflict broke out, several nations were warning their citizens in Ukraine to evacuate, to get out of there. They were giving them avenues and routes and means of leaving the country. Ghana didn't do that. Eventually, the conflict broke out. Now, Ghana is scrambling some sort of response and trying to get people out. There are still some people trapped there, but Ghana is now, belatedly in some people's opinion, attempting to get Ghanaians out. People are at the border holding the Ghanaian passport and finding that it doesn't move them forward in the queue. And it's brought up the question, what is the value of that Ghanaian passport? Prof, in your experience, has the value of being a Ghanaian, holding that green passport, has that value diminished?
I don't really think so. I think still when you're around anywhere in the world, there's a certain level of respect for Ghana and therefore the passport that you hold. I think so. But I also recognize that the problem that you just mentioned is not just Ghanaian. It's a global issue of racism. And, if you listen to some commentary from the mainstream media, on this war in Ukraine, some very interesting commentaries are being made by BBC, CBS, and all relating to the fact that they see white people, blue eyes, being pummeled by Russia, therefore, and there's a civilized, all kinds of things that they will never use in a conflict in Africa, even when they were pummeling Libya or Syria or Afghanistan, nobody raised those issues. But right now, it's become a racial thing. And I saw on Al Jazeera just yesterday or so, at the border between Ukraine and Poland, where the police officer receiving them was even discriminating between the Ukrainians and others, including the Middle Easterners with their passports. And of course, if a Ghanaian was there, certainly including the Ghanaian. So for me, I attribute this issue you raised more to the global issue of racism. So I don't think our passport, a Ghanaian passport, has been devalued. Having said that, I can also agree that our governments in the past and present, we have not been very much quick to respond to the needs of Ghanaians abroad. It's not a new phenomenon at all. You see, in other countries, perhaps because they have the means, at times they will even send their own planes quickly to evacuate their people. But countries like Ghana, either because we lack the means, and even if you lack the means, at times certain pronouncements you make will impress people that you care and that you are making some effort. Perhaps the government did not feel like this was going to be as serious war as we see it today. Nonetheless, I think Ghanaian governments have been less responsive to the difficulties of Ghanaian, challenges of Ghanaians when they are abroad. And that could be part of it, because if you're Ghanaian and you see that other people are having their governments quickly making efforts to work with them, and then you stand alone like an orphan, certainly you won't be pleased with your government. So I agree to the extent that over the years, Ghanaian governments have not been very responsive when Ghanaians are caught in situations such as we have in Ukraine.
Now, Prof, I mean, you talked about how in the past, self-reliance, Operation Feed Yourself, and all those things inspired confidence and patriotism in Ghanaians. Now, you also mentioned Ghana Beyond Aid, and you were excited by it, hoping that it was going to lead to the same effect that we saw in the past. Could you tell us why, even though we've been talking about Ghana Beyond Aid for the past 4 years, it is not triggering the kind of response you saw in the past?
Good point. I like the question. You know what? There's a big difference between policy declaration and policy implementation. So if you go back to the 70s, when Champon introduced Operation Feed Yourself, he did not sit by and just let the people listen and go. He personally, and on several occasions, reminded Ghanaians the philosophy behind that look, we need to feed ourselves instead of throwing millions every year to import foods, things that we can do here. See, that inspires. So if we know that, look, we don't have the money and we are wasting so much on imports on things that we are capable of producing, and that gets into the mind of Ghanaians, people respond. In the case of, even before I come to the Ghana Beyond Aid, the soldiers, if at the time, if you went to Burma camp, you find officers and other ranks at their backyard planting. You came to cantonments, people's backyards became gardens, poultry, on and on, without government telling people to go for loans. Today, if any such program comes, the first thing we think about, let's create some money for people to access. We don't appeal to the patriotic sentiments of Ghanaians to do anything. We use money. I think in the beginning of this discussion, I raised that point. We are monetizing everything. So that has numbed our brains in terms of attachment to the nation. If there's no money attached, I can't do nothing. Look, the farming that people are doing, I agree that these days you need certain inputs. So maybe you need some capital. It's great. But I think we are overemphasizing this monetary thing rather than appealing to people's own sentiments. Okay? So Operation Feed Yourself became successful. Of course, unless if you talk about the big rice farmers in the north, they were capitalized and private companies came in. But I'm talking about those who doing gardening behind your back, because Accra, the land is receptive to any seed, plantain. In fact, I'm speaking from my house. I got some plantains, pawpaw, avocado. They're all growing here. So I don't buy avocado when it's seasonal. I pick from my own frontier. And I'm sure a lot of people do the same, oranges. So if you can imagine this and find a way to psychologically get Ghanaians to accept that, look, the plantain that we import attached from Cote d'Ivoire, we can do it in abundance, not even in the forest, but your own backyard. That is very inspiring. Okay. Now, if you come to your question about Ghana Beyond Aid, the reason why I was excited was because it reminded me of that patriotic sentiments that came along with Operation Feed Yourself, self-reliance and other things of the 70s. But you see, when the president announced it, in my view, there was a tactical mistake. I recall the president constituting a certain group of people to work on it, including the senior minister at the time, Mr. Osafo Manfo, and others. Once I heard that those membership of the group, frankly, I just chuckled. I said, this government is not serious. Frankly.
Why?
Because if you are talking about Ghana Beyond Aid, it's such an interesting, inspiring, heavy concept. You need people who can think, because you need an intellectual basis, what you may call a philosophical basis, which will be the inspiration, and the practical basis, which will mean technical people trying to figure out over the next, give yourself 10 years, 20 years, 50 years, it doesn't matter. But there's a plan that henceforth, this is what we're going to do. Similar to what the Ghana Development,
Planning Commission.
Exactly. Like what they did, the 40-year plan. Okay? It's similar. Because Ghana Beyond Aid is not a one-term thing. It's not an event. It's a long process. So if you are serious about it, you structure a long process to achieve it. And that wasn't done. It wasn't structured. And since then, as I speak to you, I don't have any document to read to say, we are doing this. So I'm saying that there's a big difference between policy pronouncement, and if you're serious, you go beyond the pronouncement and structure things that will actualize that pronouncement. And I don't think I see that in our case.
So in effect, you're saying that right from the get-go, we got it wrong with Ghana Beyond Aid.
That idea was superb, but I did not see follow-ups that will convince me and anybody that, in fact, we have a strategy for achieving it. You see, for instance, the 1D, 1F, for me, is an exciting policy. And that can practically and philosophically be attached to Ghana Beyond Aid. Because if you succeed in having factories all over the country, it goes a long way in reducing certain imports that we have. So gradually, we are building self-sufficiency in our national life. It's an integral part. Then you can look at even the planting for food and jobs. So in other words, all these separate initiatives are there. Ghana Beyond Aid should have captured all of them in a document with practical strategies that will help us that over the years, this is what we are going to do. And of course, again, after saying that, I will say, wow, maybe government changes, the next government comes, as you have been witnessing in our country, they come and say, we don't want this, then it gets truncated. That is one of the problems we have. So it doesn't allow governments or leaders to even have a long-term vision in politics that we practice. So I think our problems are complex. First of all, our political system, for me, is dangerous for development.
Why is it dangerous?
Because we are not seeing actual development in a strategized long-term process. Look, Singapore, Malaysia, all these countries we like to cite, even Rwanda. it wasn't just a 4-year staff or 10-year staff. They all took Singapore at least 26 years. Malaysia 24 years. Rwanda, Kagame has been there 18, getting to 20 years, and we are seeing the changes.
Are you suggesting that we give parties longer time in office? Is that what you're suggesting?
Partly yes, because in a recent lecture I gave at UPS, I made that point. There is no magic to choosing how long a leader stays, because it depends on your own environment, your own circumstance and all. It's nothing magical about going for 4 years. We just pick it from the Americans. The British, a prime minister like Margaret Thatcher was there for 11 years, but Theresa May was 3 years. I don't know how long Joris Bonson will stay. So you see, there's that variety, because so far as the people like what you're doing, right? And they vote for you, you can stay on. That's the British style. The German style. The lady Angela Merkel,
yeah,
was there for how many years? 16 years, 17 almost.
Prof, it sounds almost as if you are seeing the merits to perhaps what people like Kwame Nkrumah tried to do, which was.
But you see, Kojo, when you do that, there's a caveat. You also have a mechanism to check and get rid of a bad leader. In other words, in the British system, we have what they call vote of no confidence. You know that. So if the prime minister commits some atrocity, you are kicked out. In the Nkrumah system, there was no such mechanism. He declared a one-party state, and at some point, his parliament, the CPP parliament, decided that he would be president for life. So there was no mechanism to check LD. So
what about Lee Kuan Yew or any
Lee
of
Kuan
the
Yew,
Chinese leaders that we could point to who have transformed their nation because there was nobody to, move them out of office before they completed their vision?
But you see, he was able to have the people to follow him. At times, and if you read Lee Kuan Yew's book, you know what he did. A very interesting story in the book that relates to how he got the peasant farmers to even accept to come and live on high-rise apartments. The poultry the poultry farmers carried their pigs behind them, and he told the people, allow them, let them take their pigs to the 10th floor. They did, and shortly they realized that pigs and humans cannot stay in the same apartment. And so naturally, they abandoned that kind of thing. So the point is, those who stay longer use a combination. Well, I can understand that a combination that may include delimiting certain rights of citizens and all. But if the people see that the end result is going to be beneficial for all, people sacrifice. And that's where patriotism comes in. Patriotism. But in every society also, don't believe that you get that support 100%. It doesn't happen that way anywhere. Even Kagame has some challenges, opposition. The same with Lee Kuan Yew and Mahathir in Malaysia. So let's discover how they did it, and whether we can. At times, I feel that the kind of political system and structures we have created for ourselves have become a problem in itself. You see, because you cannot have your cake and eat it, Kojo.
True.
Something has to give for you to gain something.
Yeah.
It's as simple as that. That's the world, reality.
Prof, let's wrap up with this. I saw a video. I just remembered it because I mentioned China. I saw a video of Chinese children playing a very simple game with a bouncing ball game. So every child was bouncing a ball, and they were doing it in tandem at the same time. So when the instructor gives a signal, the children would move to their right and stop. So they will move on to bounce the next person's ball.
Next bounce.
That's right. Now, the instructor explained that this was a patriotism exercise where the children were being taught that they must do the right thing so that the next person benefits. So they have to bounce the ball in tune. They have to bounce it at the right height, And when the instruction comes, they must move on so that the next person can benefit. So, and you talked about Ghana under Nkrumah, when there were deliberate things that children were made to do to instill this idea of patriotism.
That's right.
In today's Ghana, what would be your suggestion of the things we can do so that perhaps if we have lost it, the next generation can find patriotism again?
Kojo, it's an excellent question, something I've been asking myself all the time. And I like what you said. Our generation, you can write us off, discount us. But let's think about the next generation, the young people you're talking about. And that's where the whole notion of education becomes critical. And as I speak to you, I haven't taken time to study the curriculum in our schools and the structures and all. So maybe I cannot be very proficient discussing that with you. But I know that patriotism is built from infancy. If you go to schools, Kojo, I'm sure you live abroad, you see how these kids are brought up. In the US, kids as young as in the kindergarten are taught about America, the vision, the dream of America is instilled in them. So they grow with that kind of love. I'm just generalizing it, but that is true. That's what they do. In Nkrumah's time, when the Young Pioneer was introduced, certain songs we sang, were helpful. Except that, as I keep saying, there are certain aspects that I grew up to realize it wasn't the right thing. For teaching me, Nkrumah never dies, Nkrumah's a messiah, those kind of things. But those are on the minor side. The real thing was to get Ghanaians to love their country. We're talking patriotism. So in the same way, I don't even know, one of the things that make people love their country is the history of the people, where we came from. What did our forefathers do? If we go to schools, I don't know whether people are even taught about the independence struggle. Those who started perhaps late 18th century, because it started long before the UGCC was formed in 1947. If you look at this, then people get proud. Oh, we have a very rich heritage. How people did so and so and so. In Ghana, I don't know whether we teach our young people our history. Perhaps there's even an intellectual problem with determining what our history is. Because as I speak to you, some people think one person founded Ghana. Others think multiple people founded Ghana. We don't need to have an agreement there. So education has been one of the serious gaps in preparing our young people to become responsible citizens. When we were in school years back, civics was a requirement. And civics was a class that taught citizenship, how to cross a road. Even those days, there weren't many cars as we see today. So these are things that we don't have anymore because we are moving and we are just imitating the rest of the world. We need to do this. And now I don't know the curriculum we teach. So, Kojo, I agree with you. I think if we are serious about preparing our young people for the future of this country, then we've got to be careful what we teach our kids. We let them know our history, our heritage, and build upon that. So give them a sense of pride that we have a past. We have a glorious past. That sense of pride, if it's not built into children, they grow with a diminished sense of patriotism. So if you're asking me the question, what do we do? Because we can discount ourselves out of this, then the question becomes, how do we prepare our children? And for me, the best preparation is in the school. And of course, parents have a responsibility. I don't even want to mention the churches because the churches have been the worst failure in our society. The church, especially the so-called, I don't want to mention names, they have added to the complexity of the challenges that we have in this country. But nobody talks about that because, you know what? Our prominent political leaders go and bow before people who claim to be.
Prof is stopping himself. I wouldn't mind if you finish the sentence and then we wrap up on that. People who claim to be...
No, you know what?
Oh,
I'm always amazed when I see politically into people who claim to be evangelists or pastors or whatever. A sovereign leader of a nation. You are the sovereign head. So if my sovereign head goes and prostrate before somebody who doesn't even deserve, I don't know, then we are the problem.
Wow, that's quite a thought. In fact, Professor Bafo Ajimandia, you've really lit a fuse for us this morning. I don't think we could have chosen a better person to start our patriotism series with. Thanks for giving us so much to think about. Let's hope it's the beginning of a conversation that turns our nation around.
Thank you.
Professor Bafo Ajimandia there. He's currently the CEO of the J.A. Kufuor Foundation. Wow. Wow, is all I can see at this point. Ray.
Sometimes you get the impression that it's time to give up on the nation. Then the likes of Professor Ajimandia speak and you get your patriotism back on the front burner. Then you know that there are still people who think deeply and strongly about this country. There are still people who are not into the business of keeping quiet and hiding in their corners and only nodding to what's happening or running away from the reality on the ground.
Yeah.
This is one of those moments. Very phenomenal.
Mama V.
I mean, very wise words he shares. Just want to go over.
You wrote plenty things.
I did. I was
Almost
just
4
writing.
pages.
I couldn't-
Oh,
so-
they are gagging you.
So Professor Bafo Ajimandia started off by telling us about the sources of patriotism. He mentioned the internally generated one, which is, the fact that you're born Ghanaian. He talks about the external stimulation of patriotism, which is leadership issues and policies. There's a point that I made, which is what rituals do our school children today go through? Because he referred to himself when he was growing up then and talked about the sort of rituals that they would undergo. He goes on to talk about the fact that governments have not been quick in responding to the needs of Ghanaians abroad. That's when you took him to the issues happening in Ukraine and Russia. But he also talks about the fact that governments do things that will kill your spirit. And I think we've seen a lot of these things that he talks about. And that leaders captivate people around such policies that they bring up to inspire. And that's something that's been missing in these days as well. And just finally on the churches, because that's where he wraps up. You need to go back and play back everything that Prof has said to us this morning. But he talks about the fact that the churches have added to the complexities of our challenges.
That's putting it politely.
People say that when the chief speaks, that's the end of it. When the professor says all these things, it's obvious that as a people, there are too many things we have to do. And fortunately for us, we know all the solutions to our problems, but we never start solving them.
All right. Personally, when I heard them say we have the men, it was men like these I thought of. This is what I thought they meant. I was wrong. Anyway, we're going to take some calls. When we come back from these messages, we're going to take your calls, okay? We'll hear what you have to say about all this. Stay with us.
Everyone is proud of the doctor I've become. I'm grateful to a lot of people, but especially for basketball and the grit I built as I learned the sport. The rejections taught me to keep fighting. The long hours taught me discipline. Knockdowns taught me to bounce back. And those unexpected victories taught me never to give up.
Nourish and energize your kids with Milo. Help them succeed in sports. Because the grits they learn in sports, they keep for life. Milo, energy to go further.
Milo. This advert is FDA approved.
Wow, I just paid my taxes right now. Since they started this pay from anywhere, it has become easier, cra.
Easy, cra. Now nobody has an excuse. So long Jenny no ye jai. Tax, why?
Effie, don't tell me you have not been paying taxes, so.
No, I'm tired of paying. Don't be. It's the taxes we pay that government will use to improve the markets and to build the nation, oh.
I don't know. It just takes your whole day. Hey, you mean you have been going to the GRA office?
Effie, unye current, cra. Come and join us. So I'm not paying taxes, no.
Pay your taxes online, at the bank, or from your phone. Together, we can build a great nation. GRA.
Provident Insurance. Provident Insurance welcomes you to a new year. Remember to insure your new car or renew your existing motor insurance from the 1st of January to the 31st of March. You can win free gifts such as fuel coupons and several other branded Provident souvenirs. Rush for insurance cover now. Terms and conditions apply. With Provident, man, you are covered.
Oh, Jam, why you make quiet like that?
Oh, Charlie, I go do some POP, give somebody where the cornice is not fine, cry.
I always they tell you, see, for decorative roses and cornices, the solution be interface. Them have different imported cornices and roses in different designs and shapes. Installing them be so easy, and it go give your customer the finishing he wants.
Oh, Jam, take me go interface right now before I lose this customer.
Interface Limited is the leading supplier and installer of finishing input materials for the building and construction industry in Ghana. Call us on 0274-999999 or visit our website at
www.interfacelimited.net. Facebook Interface Limited GH. Instagram interface.limited.
Do you need money to start a business? Do you need money to expand your business? Are you a government or private sector worker in need of money to sort out emergencies? Do you need working capital loan? Or you're in need of an emergency loan? Well, Quick Credits will loan you money so you can repay in flexible terms. It's collateral-free loan with no susu, no savings, no account opening nor deposit wahala. You just need to be a Ghanaian with your Ghana card. Quick Credit covers all forms of loans, and so you have no excuse not to work this 2022 and beyond. Call Quick Credit on 030-2200-390 or 059-692-0833. Take note that we do not give loans via the internet. Beware of scammers. We are regulated and licensed by Bank of Ghana. Terms and conditions apply. Quick Credit, lending made simple.
You want to fill your home with good electronic and home appliances? There is good news. EGL Bazaar.
Stop. Oh, why? I'm a driver, and they use time. I just want to know, these expensive fridges that you've been driving up and down to the warehouse, when can we also buy some? You know we don't have that kind of money.
As EGL, the things they sell, it be people from Transaco, East Legon, and serious people waiting to buy you. But there is a chance for you.
Oh, more filler. I want more filler.
From the 3rd to the 7th of March, EGL will be on the Sprinters Road. You know the Coca-Cola roundabout?
Yeah, Coca-Cola.
Yes, them go there.
But it's not going to be the same prices.
Don't you know what is Bazaar? It is up to 80% discount.
Wow.
Yes. From fridges, microwaves, television, blenders, cookers, anything. But I beg, only from the 3rd to the 7th March. After that, don't come be stopping me on my road like that. Bye-bye, I go.
EGL, we dey go.
Coffee in your cup and Joy on the set. The Super Morning Show is always the best bet on Joy 99.7 FM.
Okay then, you're welcome back. In a moment, we'll open the lines and hear from you on this. But first, your text messages have brought us a lot of insights. Text messages on Super Morning Show are brought to you by the Glycocritical Illness Plan, GSIP. It's in your best interest to survive.
And you know that feeling when you don't have to worry about something running out? Well, when you know you have enough, that's the feeling Surfline gives you with a 1-year bundle. So whether you're keeping tabs on family on the go, staying busy with back-to-back online meetings, downloading all your favorite movies in 4K, or uploading that video of your niece singing Baby Shark for 4 hours, the 1-year bundle gives you high-speed data all year round. You can relax doing that. You only load once and you have data for the whole year. No monthly reloads to worry about. Also, you enjoy 12 months data connection for every 11 months purchase, and you also get a device backup and a dedicated VIP manager to assist in all your needs. So, what are you waiting for? Join the very select few already enjoying the luxury of the awesome Surfline 1-year bundle. Visit surflinegh.com or any Surfline shop near you, or dial *718 *77 hash to sign up today. Surfline, better together.
So, patriotism, wherefore art thou patriotism? That's what we've been talking about this morning, and we've been asking the question, would you be willing to do something for your nation? Something, anything for your nation? Call us 0302-216-541 or 055-1111-997. At DB__ says, I will do nothing for Ghana. At Ansu113 says, to leave Ghana alone. That's what they'd be willing to do. At Pensir says, staying alive because this country is trying to kill me. Wow. At Nana_Hema says, what is Ghana willing to do for me? Well, I mean, JFK says, ask not what you
but what you can do for your country.
At Ghana Pride says, as a citizen, Ghana isn't doing much for me. At Fafali_S says, take my share of the national cake. At Obina says, as a young Ghanaian, I would like to work hard for Mother Ghana and pay my dues accordingly so that my fellow Ghanaian won't travel outside Ghana and die like fowls. But seriously, our leaders, our leaders we elect, are our problems. Since independence, they use our taxes anyhow. Wow. Okay. Selom is in Jamestown. Selom, good morning.
Fine morning.
Are you willing to do something for your country?
I am a teacher.
Okay.
I teach English language at JHS and then history at primary. So for me, I would die for Ghana anytime, no matter what the discouragement the current crop of politicians are doing. They have the best of education. They were on scholarship, some of them outside this country, and they gave them all the education. And they came back to the things that they were supposed to copy there, so that when they come back here, they make life easier for the people here and give people hope. They have refused to give people hope. If some of us say that what they are doing is shameful and not helping the youth, they go against us. That we are talking that the government, but everybody's seeing it. People are not willing to support whatever activity because people are not. Tell the professor that we are teaching history of Ghana in the primary school, the new curriculum that new standard-based curriculum, and teachers are doing their best. We only need the help of citizens like him sometimes to come to the schools and talk to the children to boost the children's confidence and the patriotism. Thank you.
Thank you, Salom. Let's go to Teshi. Here's Eja. Eja, good morning.
Yeah, good morning. How are you?
Not bad at all, sir.
Kojo? I say, how are you?
I'm very well, thank you, Eja. Can you hear
me?
Me?
Sure, are you sure that you are fine?
Well, I'm as well as can be.
Kojo, if you present the team and you realize that you are coach, you realize that some of the players are not performing, what do you do?
You replace them.
You replace them. Finance minister present the budget. Now leave the budget, going wrong for town hall meeting. And Anakufado keeping this man at the office. You see, if you are talking about patriotism, I cannot do anything for Ghana. Even at time, I wish this country would collapse in the hands of Nana Akufo-Addo. Because in this pandemic, anytime at all you are going somewhere, you have to rent a private jet. And this finance minister is not performing. He was sick by coronavirus. He was fly from here outside. Ask Gary, when Gary got the coronavirus, Is somebody fly him to outside? These are the things that we are talking about. If you want me to die for Ghana, I will never die for Ghana. I will never today. If he is going somewhere today, you see the private jet at the airport. So you are trying that we should die for this man, or we should die for this country. It's for people that are enjoying. If I'm not taking any part, if not of this money, the cocoa that I'll take, I don't have money in my pocket. I don't have a job. I am a building contractor. I don't have a work. Why do you want me to die for this country? Winston, how are you?
Winston is fine. Winston.
Mama, bye-bye.
Hey, Winston, I'm fine. How about you?
Actually, we've lost Eja there. Thank you for calling us, Eja, and thanks for sharing your thoughts. Winston is in Jolu. Winston, good morning.
Hi, good morning, Kojo.
Thanks for calling.
Yeah, Kojo, I'm good. Yourself?
Not bad at all, my brother.
Kojo, the people who are saying they won't die for this country, okay, let's say Touchwood, Nigeria says it's coming to invade Ghana. Are the Ghanaians, are we saying we've lost hope in this country, so we wouldn't fight to save our country? Is that what we would do as Ghanaians? I doubt. I'm sure we're going to fight Nigeria to save our country, right? So that's your patriotism right there.
So that's it? That's all the patriotism we need during wartime?
No, but I mean, if you are willing to die to save your country, what's more patriotic than that?
Okay, all right, Winston, thank you for sharing. Let's go to Lomnava. Here's Uncle Morgan. Good morning, Uncle Morgan.
Morning.
Yes,
Mr. Kojo.
Yes, please turn off your radio and listen to us on the phone, okay?
Very well, very well. It's done, please.
Perfect. Uncle Morgan, how are you?
I'm very well. How are you people doing?
We're not bad, by God's grace.
Okay, good. For me, if you should ask me if I would die for my nation, I would say no. I would love to, honestly. I would love to. But then if you watch or then some of the decisions our leaders take, it really hurts. You know, and I must say, even most of them won't die for the nation, honestly. When it really comes to critical, most will run, most wouldn't die for the nation. So why must I do so when even the leaders we elect won't die for the nation? So I mean, it's a big no. It's a big no there.
Wow, thank you, Uncle Morgan.
All right.
Another big no. All right, Kwame is in Laboni. Hi, Kwame. Good morning.
Good morning, Kojo. What's done for
Kaka Krayaminadum.
One quick thing. I made a trip to Seoul in the year 2017, and one thing was clear. When I visited their museum, I decided to ask about what brought about their development in the midst of the Korean crisis and all that.
Yeah.
You see, it got to a point where the leadership of the nation, when they realized they had nothing, asked the citizenry to bring whatever gold ornament, rings, whatever they have, just to show up their reserves. And they did. Why would they do that? Because they trusted in the leadership. Okay? I'm not sure same will happen in Ghana if we are told to bring what your grandmother gave you some years back to hide somewhere. It's all because of trust. And there's one profound thing that came up during one discussion I held recently with somebody who works at the World Bank concerning Ghana's downgrade. What he basically said was that countries are not solely downgraded because of debt to GDP ratios, but it is only because our leaders lie. We lie about figures for which they are aware of. We lie about simple things. Reason why somebody will say our debt to GDP is 80-something%, and he will be telling, but he will say, I still stand by that figure because they know the right figures. So it is all about that. I mean, we lie about everything in this nation, including our leadership. Anyways, thank you. God bless you.
Thank you, Kwame. Thank you. Kobe is in Tema. Hi, Kobe. Good morning.
Kojo, good morning. How are you doing?
God is in control.
Kojo, this one, I would love to keep it simple. If our leaders are ready to sacrifice and die for this nation, I will sacrifice and die for the nation. But as it is now, they are not ready to do that. And so I'll also not do it. Thank you.
Thank you, Kobe. Samuel is in Adenta. Hi, Samuel.
Hello, Kojo. How are you guys?
We are here by God's grace.
Yeah, happy Ghana month to all of us.
And to you.
Kojo, I was wondering, Ghanaian students in Ukraine, what has Ghana really done to them that they don't even want to come? Even in the face of bombs flying here and there, some don't want to. They don't want to come. Because, see, if the students in Ukraine, what are you looking for? A place for you to lay your head, wake up in the morning, struggle, hustle, marry, at least have your kids and take care of your children. But even all of this are becoming impossible. Common rent for chamber and hall self-contained around Adenta, it's around 500 cedis a month. And landlords are taking two years advance, sometimes even 3 years advance. And how can a young guy from school who is working trying to even rent a room, a decent one, and they can even marry? Could you let me tell you something? On Friday, you did try and do this research. Why is it that nowadays young guys are going and they're not getting married? And ladies are also waiting. It's because they don't have money to marry. They have girlfriends, they want to marry, but they don't have money. And you see that they'll hit their 40s before they'll marry. It's becoming a problem in this country. So if a student even in Ukraine doesn't want to even come to Ghana because he can even work there and still send money home for people to be taken care of. So he won't come. Good morning.
Good morning to you, Samuel. Okay, let's take one more call. Let's go to Kumasi. Hi, George. Thanks for tuning in to Love FM. Thanks for calling us as well. How are you?
I'm fine, Kojo. How are you too?
Not bad at all, George.
I thank you very much. Kojo, those who said they have given up on Ghana, we don't have to blame them. That is their strength. You see, we doesn't have one strength. They have given up. That means they are tired. But those of us who have the strength, we are continuing the fight. We don't have to give up on Ghana. Kojo, our politicians have failed us. Our leaders have failed. Our chiefs have failed us. Even the clergy have failed us. But we, as the citizenry, we will never give up. We are going to fight for this nation till our last breath. In Ukraine, women are on the street with guns. They don't even know how to hold the guns, but they are fighting. But those who say they are tired, let them be tired. For those of us, we will never be tired. We have to fight for the betterment and the future of this nation. Thank you, Kojo.
Thank you, George. And thanks to all of you who called us today to share your thoughts on whether you'd be willing to do something for your nation. This is just the beginning of a series that will be running throughout the month, Ghana Month. And our theme is patriotism. Wherever it is hiding, we want to find it. And that's what we're aiming these conversations at. All right, stay with us. There'll be more and more coming. You'll be hearing from some amazing people on this show, okay? Right now, though, the Living Standard series continues. Coming up.
This one I was even contemplating whether I should mix some of the lectures because I can't go through all the week.
I now have to cut down on my salon visits and buying of clothes as well as shoes, and channel all those expenses into my transportation.
Kurumayeshi. We'll find out exactly how hot after these.